Hello, citizens of the verse. I'm just a tourist at the FragNav console, and this is my dual joystick setup guide. So, they've just released Alpha 3.0C for the public test universe, but this does apply for Alpha 2.6.3 also. I didn't notice any changes in the control setup, so this will apply to people still on the old one. If you're watching this after Alpha 3.0 is released, well, I'll update this if they've made any changes to the way controllers are set up, but hopefully I don't think they're going to do anything like that. So, without further ado, let's get to this. So I haven't set up my controls yet for this version. I've had to delete my user folder as they've recommended. So I'll be setting it all up from scratch. So the first important thing is which joystick is going to do what. Now, first of all, in defaults, they have you controlling your ship movement with mouse. So let's just go ahead and disable that, and we'll get it so we're controlling the ship movement with the correct joystick that we want to do. So we're just going to go into options. Now, first things for, well, we'll go to key bindings. And for keyboard and mouse here, make sure that's selected. Advanced controls customization, flight movement. So we have our pitch and yaw stuff controlled by the mouse. We're just going to disable that. You just click on that, right click, and it just goes away because we don't want to do that with the mouse. It's just going to cause issues. So we're going to get rid of that. So, and we don't even need that because we're not going to do that. And while we're at it, we'll just get rid of all these keyboard shortcuts here. Alright, so I cleared all the keyboard shortcuts for movement. I'm going to be mapping all those to my joystick anyway. The other thing is also weapons. We don't need our weapons to fire when we're clicking on the mouse, so we'll just, come on, we'll just get rid of that. We'll just get rid of that also. So now we'll go to the joystick down here, make sure joystick is selected, and this will be for both joysticks. So now we're going to go to, just go through these, and any of these we'll want to map to whatever joystick. And I'm not going to tell you where to map a lot of these things because it's going to be personal preference. So I'll just skip to the movement ones here, and I'll let you do the rest there, but, well, I'll go through the rest at the end of this video. We'll go do all the important stuff up front here. So, pitch. So we're going to select this, and it might be set up right in the first place, it might not, but just go ahead and double click that. And on the primary joystick you're going to use, I'm left-handed, so I use my left joystick for my primary hand, but whichever one, just go ahead and move that axis, and it's going to rebind. And now it's important to note that for me, input 2 is the joystick that's going to be my main hand. So anything I want it to do with my main hand, I want to make sure it's on input 2. So that's our pitch, that's our up-down. Our yaw is our left-right, so that is our x-axis. And our roll is our z rotation. So now those are set up. Let's see, throttle access, we're going to let it know that's going to be our throttle. Strafe up and down, we're going to use our other joystick for that, so we're just going to disable these. So get rid of all those, get rid of the hat switch settings because we don't need it to get confused. And there's also going to be some, let's see here, okay, afterburner I want to have there, boost I would like to have there, landing system I like to have here. I don't do auto land because I like to just land by myself, it's more fun for me. Column travel, I like there. Okay, so that's our movement for that joystick. Now for our strafe, we have here, so we want our strafe up, down. So that's going to be my Z rotation is what I like to use for strafing up and down. So that's on joystick 1. Strafe left, right is going to be our x-axis, of course. Yes, that's fine. And then strafe forward back is going to be our y-axis. Now, this is where a lot of people get a little bit messed up. So if I go back into the game here, I notice if I push forward, I end up going backwards. And if I pull back, I end up going forward. And there's been some people, there's kind of a little setting that it's a little tricky to find, so I will show you how to find that here. So we are going to, not Alt-Tab, we're going to go into our controls. So select the controls option here, And you might notice that there's only pitch and yaw for your inversion settings. Well, notice down here in the bottom right corner it says mouse. We don't want that for mouse, we want that for our joysticks. Specifically, we want that for our strafing joystick. Now remember, my joystick 2 is my main hand. Joystick 1 is the one I use for strafing. So that's where you need to remember which one it set up for your strafing is going to be the one you're going to set up here. So joystick 1 for me. So my inversion settings under flight strafe, forward backwards, yes, I do want that inverted. And also for me, I have my strafe up and down inverted. That's just, you might vary on that, but the big important one is the forward backwards. So that one's switched there, and we're going to go back into the game. And now we notice when I press forward, I go forward, and when I pull back, looks like they've updated the flight system a little bit, but I'm going back. Is that asteroid actually rotating? That asteroid is rotating, I think. Wow, they got that in for the... This is in the Arena Commander. I don't know if this is in the universe, but that's pretty cool. They got the rotating asteroids in. All right, nice. Let's go back to controls here, because there's some other very important things that you're going to want to know about. So, for my joystick one, this one is just a 3D, Extreme 3D Pro. It's an older one. It's gotten a little sloppy throughout the years, so what's going to happen with this one, with these default settings like this, is I can just move it just a little bit where, even if you're just resting and it's moving on you, or I just kind of wiggle it a little bit. Actually, Z rotation doesn't seem too bad right now, but there's a lot of slop in this, so we want to set up a dead zone for this. So we're just going to go back into our options, into our controls. For this one is joystick 1. And you scroll down to the bottom, and here's your sensitivity curves and stuff like that. For this one, I like to use this for landing, so for my pitch and yaw, I like to do about 1.8 or 2. We'll try 2, so pitch, yaw, roll. Actually, that's controlled by this one, so I don't even have to set this up for this one here, but my strafe, that's where I want the curves at, especially for up and down. So, and if you look at the curve here, basically what this is doing is when you pull it just a little bit, and I don't think this is actually going to show us where the setting's at, but when you pull it just a little bit, it's not going to have much response, but if you pull it a lot, it's going to have more response up here. And that gives you, if you're just doing very small movements, it's going to give you more precision if you just want to do like some precision movements. But if you need to do the extreme maneuvering, then it'll get you there. So, whoops, and it sent me back up to the top. That's one thing I wish it wouldn't do. So that was our flight and movement curves. Don't need to worry about throttle for this one, or aim, or free look. The other important one is dead zone. So this one's very sloppy, so I'm going to give it a generous dead zone of about 25 or 0.25. We'll call it ish. Do that for all three of those, including the Z rotation a little bit more, because sometimes I'll be rotating it just by accident as I'm trying to move on, so I'll give that a little bit more of a dead zone. And I think that's all. I haven't really messed with saturation, so that's this one set up. This one is pretty tight, so I don't have to worry about dead zones, but I will set up curves for this one. So this one is joystick 2. And for my pitch, yaw, and roll, I'll just give it a moderate curve there of 1.5. You don't have to worry about strafe with this one. I'm not worried about throttle, and I'm not really worried about dead zone too much, because this one is a new joystick, and also the T16000 it's a very nice tight joystick, so I haven't really noticed any issues with slop with this one. So we'll go back, we'll go into our game, and we'll see how that feels. So as I move this around now, I'm noticing, yep, not noticing any movement there, even if I do move it a little bit. But if I go more, then it gets out of that dead zone. That feels good there. There's my up, there's my down. And for movement, there we go, that's, I'll have to actually fly around a little bit. which I won't do right now. We'll complete this setup here. So now we'll finish up the setup here. So, alright, in flight targeting here, we're going to do gimbal lock. We want to make sure we can turn that off. I like to map that here. Gimbal lock, I'm going to underline this. Make sure that you have gimbal lock mapped somewhere. When I take off, or even before I take off, the first thing I do is I turn off gimbal lock. What gimbal lock does is it disables the gimbals that you have on your ship. What the gimbals do is if you're playing with the keyboard and mouse, it will aim some of your guns, depending on which ones are equipped with gimbals, they will aim at where the mouse is pointing. Now, if you're flying with dual joysticks, you don't want that, so you need to remember to turn your gimbal lock on. So I have that mapped to a button. I recommend you map that, and when I get into the game, even before I take off, one of the first things I do is just disable gimbal lock. So we'll do that, and now you'll notice that cursor goes to the center. I can move my mouse around, it just changes the view a little bit, but I'm always going to be firing right in the center there, regardless of where my mouse is at. So make sure that you have gimbal lock somewhere, and make sure that you turn that off when you start flying around. But in general, I always fly with gimbal lock off because I don't have track IR, and they don't have that in-game yet where they had the whole little webcam face IR or face over IP thing. So that was the last important bit. We'll just go through the rest of the setup here just for the sake of completeness. So key bindings for joystick, advanced controls customization. I like to put my space brake over on my off joystick trigger. I don't really use decoupled mode. The strafe settings, no. I don't have any of these. Alright, so in flight movement, the only thing I'm going to set up is my space brake, which I mapped to button 1 on this joystick. And you can do this however you want. This is just my preference of how I like to do this. Alright, for targeting, I already have the gimbal lock set up. That's very important. Don't forget to do that. Cycle all targets I like to do up. Cycle friendly targets I like to do right. Cycle enemy, this target quote nearest hostile I like to do there. And cycle hostile I like to do down. There we go. And these other ones I haven't used. So for turrets, I'm just going to set up the targets the same way I have set up for my main flying. So cycle all's going to be up. Let's see here. Cycle hostile is going to be down. Target nearest hostile is going to be left. Come on, there we go. Left. And there's cycle friendly. Now for weapons, I like to have both weapons group 1 and 2 on the same button. So this is going to be my trigger button on my main joystick here. Come on, there we go. Yes, that's good. Acquire missile lock I like to put over here, and then launch missile I like to put over on this other joystick here. Haven't done anything. Oh yeah, launch countermeasure. I think that's going to be the same button there. Cycle countermeasure I have up there. And I haven't done anything with the shield options there. Power, I haven't done anything with those. Radar, I don't know if this does anything. I just throw it down there. Cycle radar range, sure. Alright, what else did I miss anything? Oh yeah, for cockpit. Lights I like to put over here. These doors, I don't know if I'll map this to a joystick or not. Maybe I will. It might come in handy. I don't know. Maybe put in a lock all doors. Maybe I'll just put that up there if I can remember where it's at. But okay, so I'm all set up now. You may have things set up differently. You can have some things set up differently. The important thing is the movement, the gimbal lock. And so now we're ready to go try this out, and we'll see how well this works out here for us. Let's see, let's fix the HUD.
Forward proximity alert.
Feels a little slower, I don't know. Doesn't feel like I'm going as fast as normal.
Forward proximity alert.
They've changed the way the throttle kind of works in this. I remember going to Afterburner and it felt a lot different.
Forward proximity alert.
Alright, so there you have it, dual joystick setup, and really that's a good starting point for you because you'll want to customize it the way you want. The important part was the movement and how to get those inversion settings set up the way you want them. But other than that, there it is. Hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching.